Hello and welcome to ASMR Chess. Yes, and today we have one of those great videos, just completely box standard classic ASMR chess video where we go over an amazing historical game because yes, we have Mikhail Tal back at the board with the white pieces. And in 1965, at the Candidates Tournament, he opened a game with pawn to e4. But as if it was not enough that we have Mikhail Tal playing with the white pieces, and we know that we will get crazy sacrifices, imaginative ideas, and amazing concepts. Well, we have my countryman, the Great Dane Bent Larsen, with the black pieces, who entered e4 with c5, the Sicilian defense. And Bent Larsen was a match for Mikhail Tal in creativity, original thinking, and great chess concepts. He was also an amazing and very original human being. So we are in for a good time with chess. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy as I take you through the black and white jungle of the 64 squares and this delightful historical game of chess. But first, let's thank our sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming, and even AI. And you learn on Brilliant with these cool little mini games that teach you everything you need to know through first principles. It's very effective, and I'm currently learning about neural networks and machine learning, hoping that I can one day make my very own chess AI. Now, wouldn't that be cool? And you can try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days. Just visit brilliant.org/ASMRchess, or you can scan the QR code on the screen or use the link in the description. That link will also give you a 20% discount on an annual premium subscription. Thank you very much. Knight to f3, standard development. Knight to c6. They are battling of the dark squares in the center. Will we get now a closed Sicilian, do you think? Or will it be an open Sicilian? Of course it will. It's Tal playing with the white pieces. We are not going to get a closed Sicilian. So opening up the game with pawn to d4. This has to be accepted. Pawn on c5 takes d4. We now have the open Sicilian, and Tal plays the theoretical move. Knight takes on d4. What sort of position will we go for with the black pieces? What will my countryman, the Great Bent Larsen, do? He plays pawn to e6. It's a very sound and strong version of the Sicilian. Tal develops, the magician from Riga, getting all his little magic pieces into play. So knight to c3 from the magician from Riga, and pawn to d6, a theoretical move from black in this position. Let's get all the pieces out. Bishop comes to e3 in this position here. Standard place to put the bishop here. You can consider putting the pawn on f3, like in a Yugoslav attack against the dragon, or you can even go to f4, which Tal really liked. Knight coming to f6, and now we have attack on e4. We are challenging this knight, so Black's setup is of course a little more humble. We are only like on the 8th, 7th and 6th rank, but exercising as much control as is possible. And the reason Black is humble is because White got the advantage of simply going first and grabbing the center more quickly. After this knight move, well, we see Tal wasting absolutely no time and playing pawn to f4. It looks a bit like the Grand Prix attack, but it's not exactly it. I can't remember the name of this specific variation of the Sicilian defense. It is, however, one of the aggressive ones, which should come as no surprise. f4, pretty aggressive, but we don't see any sort of counterattack or immediate reaction close to this pawn. No, we see bishop to e7, because in this position it is not these particular squares that are being attacked by these two pawns that is the most dangerous. It is the potential of these pawns to move forward in conjunction, cooperating with the g and the h pawns later on to mount the attack, and therefore we need to get the bishop out so that we can castle. Black is ready to castle. White is not ready to castle, but wants to castle. So White wants to castle and wants to move the queen. Where do you go with the queen? Where would Tal go? It's a very dangerous question to ask yourself. I have many games online, particularly, but also over the board. So, okay, what would Tal do? The answer is almost always Tal would do something crazy, sacrifice a queen or something, and have amazing calculation ability to back it up, and I don't. So it's a dangerous question to ask yourself, but it's fun. And queen f3 is the answer here, which is not that controversial. It's just a good move, getting the queen out a bit early, yes, but it is Tal. What can you do? It's not been sacrificed, at least. And castles, very principled chess by the otherwise very original Bent Larsen. Castles to the opposite side of the board by the magician from Riga. So now we are getting close to a situation where we can sort of evaluate a little bit what is going on. We have opposite sides castling. That very often means that the game will be decided by each side raising their pawns to their opponent's king, these pawns going towards this king, and these pawns going towards this king, and very often the game will be decided by whoever gets there first. In order to push these pawns and get the attack going against the black king, we would like to have the queen participate in the attack. And we want her actually behind the pawns or working with the pawns. So we are not going to a5. Sometimes in the Sicilians we do go to a5. Other times we do what Larsen did. We go to c7. This, of course, allows White to pick up a tempo against the queen. No problem, says Bent Larsen, and drops the queen back to this interesting square b8. Could look out of place, but really it isn't. What's going on here? What is going on here is that this move is threatened, and when the knight moves, we push this pawn, and we have the queen backing up the pawns marching down the board against the king. So the queen looks out of play, but isn't out of play. So black is ready to push the pawns. White, however, also ready to push the pawns, and we see g4. So now you can see we are actually pretty close to having the board explode. So black put up a good defensive structure that has a lot of potential for counter punch. You hit me here, I hit you there. Back and forth with these two players. They really come swinging at each other. And we also have white just having all these pieces here towards the king. So there is a lot of pressure, a lot of tension in the position, and the opening phase is just about done, and we are just about to get into the middle game where really the fireworks start. And once they start with these two players, they don't stop until the end of the game. So the pawn storm starts in one side of the board, A6 on the other side of the board. Now these pawns are also ready to roll. Where will the knight go? Defensively coming back to protect the king? Well, maybe if it wasn't Tal playing. But this knight goes to e4, where quite quickly it is exchanged. Knight takes knight, bishop takes, because after this little maneuver, b5 can be played, threatening to advance against this knight and make these two pieces, backing up these two pawns, very, very strong. And here we have this typical situation with opposite sides castling, where you are attacked in one side, and instead of reacting in that side, you make a counter-attack, or you continue your own attack in the other side of the board, g5, with an attack on the knight. And sometimes we have to calculate in these situations, what if I continue with my plan, you take, I take, maybe, but in this situation this pawn would come in like a little space invader, and every move take, it could continue capturing. So that is why we can't see this move b4 being played just yet. We will have to move the knight. So knight comes to e7. And we are so close now to when the fireworks begin. The bishop, which is the last piece that hasn't really been developed for white, comes to d3, and Bent Larsen is very happy now, because this move seems a little bit slow. Just a little bit slow. It seems as if he's allowed to get in there with his attack first. Pawn going to b4, attacking the knight. But he's playing Tal. And when you attack one of Tal's pieces, usually you think like one of two things can happen, like either it is ignored or it is reacted to in some way, like so it's okay, I'm attacking you with a pawn, you can either take the pawn or defend. Tal has like many more things in his toolbox on how to react to these kinds of things. For instance, in this game we get the first super cool move, which is knight, saying it's fine to be attacked by a pawn. Your pawns can capture this. I can be captured by a pawn, but not this pawn. I'll go here to d5 with an attack on this bishop, still being attacked by a pawn, still being attacked by now just this pawn instead. And Larsen goes, okay, then I will capture your knight. Why? What is this about? And let's take a look at the position. Pawn takes pawn here is the response by the magician from Riga. What is the magic of this knight sacrifice? Well, this bishop and this bishop, look at those guys. Just lasering through to the position. These pawns very, very close to the king and taking control of the dark squares. can't really come out, protect the king with the pieces. So there has been built sort of a wall saying, okay, you can have your pieces over here attacking my king, but do you know what? You'll have to commit to them being over there. You'll have to say, okay, you now have to attack in this way because it's going to be super hard to come back. However, Bent Larsen will actually find very interesting ways to maybe get some of the pieces back and maybe be able to repel the attack. First of all, we have to absolutely respect the awesome power of these two bishops working together with the queen. It's too much. We have to do something immediately. And that is pawn to f4. Absolutely crucial move in this position. Yes, you could capture this en passant, like so, but simply knight takes here and actually the attack kind of fizzles out. So that's not going to be Tal's move here. Tal is going to activate more pieces. It's time for more pieces to join the attack. And if he can pick up a tempo doing so, if he can get the attack rolling, get the pieces into play while forcing Bent Larsen to react, then he's all the more happy because it's a game of tempo. A lot of pieces on the board in the same sense, because now he has sacrificed material. He's not going to win by material, he's going to win by initiative. Therefore, rook on d to e1 with an attack on the bishop. If the bishop drops back, oh, that is very bad news. Now the pieces are cut off so much from the defense of their king. Probably that is not going to work. Therefore, we see rook to f7, protecting the bishop like so. And Tal wastes no time. His foot has hit the gas pedal and it will stay there for the rest of the game. And yes, there will be more sacrifices and there will be an amazing finish to the game. It is, after all, Bent Larsen and Mikhail Tal playing h4. Let's go. The foot is on the gas. We're just going crazy with this attack. And somehow when Tal sacrifices pieces, it looks like he's not down in material. He is down in material in this position, but he makes his pieces so active that you almost can't see it. Here, I think Larsen plays a mistake. Not that he didn't see the coming variation, but he misevaluated it, I think. He played bishop to b7, putting some pressure on this pawn here. And the problem is that white comes in with a little tactic that maybe you can see if you can find, exploiting sort of the tension in the position. And Bent Larsen's idea of how to react to this tactic may not have been completely adequate. It's a very long line. Both of them would have to calculate to get this going. So bishop takes f5. That looks like a sacrifice, but really it's not. Because rook takes bishop, and now the rook is no longer defending this bishop, meaning that rook takes bishop here. And this is only really possible after this bishop move, with the bishop no longer x-ray defending the rook here. And now the knight is attacked. And Bent Larsen probably thought, okay, I am up material. I can give back one pawn. I can try to trap this rook inside my position and use some really cool tactics and make this bishop extremely strong on this diagonal you see, looking at the pawn, looking at the queen, looking at the rook. Just have to make it work, and he starts throwing his cool tactical ideas at Tal, and now the slugfest really begins. The knight comes here. to e5. So now this rook looks a little trapped inside. Went too far maybe. It's behind enemy lines. And maybe it can be picked up. And the knight is attacking the queen. And this pawn cannot capture the knight because the queen will hang to the rook. And the bishop cannot capture the knight because we capture like this. And this pawn is protected by the rook and by the queen. So this pawn still can't take because of the ping. The rook can't take because of rook takes and queen takes. And that's not enough material on the board to justify any sort of attack, meaning that the sacrifice material by white will be decisive in black's favor. So, so what to do about this? And what Tal did was to kind of simply move the queen out of the attack, but crucially attacking the rook here. And this looks like super good position for white, but it's Bent Larsen and he's doing this. Queen f8 protecting the rook. And I looked at this and was like, but that just hangs the bishop though. And the rook is super dangerous on the file. What on earth is going on? And what's going on is a lot of calculation by these two players. So you have to imagine that when Bent Larsen started giving the pawn back, he had to calculate all of this, and this was his way to justify it. And he found that if rook takes bishop, which was not played because the correct move was found by Tal, but if rook takes bishop, rook takes queen, rook takes pawn with an attack on the queen. And let's say the queen goes here because otherwise just rook takes, like you could go here to defend against what I'm showing you in a bit, but then you lose this bishop and you didn't really win a bishop at all. And black is now the side for choice with a lot of attack going on. So you go here to keep an eye on of the bishop, and a cool sequence here exploiting this pawn with rook check, rook takes, queen check, and the king comes up. It's the only move. And now knight comes here with a check, actually forcing white to capture the knight with the queen, which will then be recaptured because you see queen takes here, 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 here. Knight checks the king, and crucially the pawn takes away this square. So the only legal move would be queen takes knight, queen takes queen, and a winning position for black. So that is why we can't see rook takes bishop. So let's see if I can remember where all these pieces are. There's a rook here, there is a rook, there's a bishop here, there is a queen here, there is a pawn here, there is a queen here, there is a rook here, and there is a knight here. Isn't that correct? I think that is correct. Yeah. So that is why rook takes bishop is not played. Instead, pawn takes knight. Now, with the knight gone, actually threatening maybe to come in and capture the bishop. So, what was Bent Larsen's plan against this move, which he also had to calculate? We saw the same sort of little idea as before. We push the rook to attack the queen. The queen moves backwards, keeping an eye on the defense of the bishop. A repetition is offered by the rook coming to f3. So maybe they would repeat the position, but of course these two players are not going to do that. Instead, queen to e2. And now this rook can be captured by the queen. So queen takes rook, and queen takes rook. They had this sort of interesting where they were both queens were threatening a rook, but they had to keep an eye out for their own rook. And Tal said, I just need your queen a little bit away from the action before I take your rook and allow you to take my rook, because now your queen is on the wrong square, which will allow me to play pawn takes pawn on e5 with an attack on the bishop, and suddenly white's position looks very precarious. Very, very precarious. But is it done yet? No. Because there is a resource in the white position that is not too difficult to spot when you are in the position, but spotting this from 5 moves earlier with all this crazy stuff you have to calculate, you may miss this resource, rook coming to e1, pinning the pawn to the bishop. You cannot capture, rook captures the queen. Okay. But Larsen will not give up. He is going to throw more fire, and they say that chess is all about the center of the game, and really this is where all of these 4 center squares is really where all of the concentrated energy is crystallizing into this gem of a chess game. But this rook is not influencing the center, so let's put it on d8, so they can coordinate with the bishop and threaten something like bishop takes on d5. This allows white to recapture this pawn protected by the bishop, and now we're getting pretty close to what I think Bent Larsen really missed. So his answer in this position is queen coming here to d6, saying this is all fine. It looks like I'm down 2 pawns, but really I'm only down 1 pawn because this pawn cannot be protected. I'm going to come in and capture it. I will have a very nice battery of queen and rook looking at, for instance, a check and checkmating ideas against the white king. So what is the resource that will allow Tal to keep his 2 extra pawns? It's a subtle move. Queen f4. And suddenly this is very hard now, because suddenly all kinds of things are threatened. First of all, what is the main idea? The main idea is just rook check. If white got another move, this rook check wins. The only legal move is rook takes rook, and then queen will capture the queen, easily winning game for white. And that's also the case if bishop takes the pawn, right? Bishop takes pawn, rook check, forcing rook takes rook, queen takes queen, game over. And that is what I think Bent Larsen missed. At the end of all of this, this is the mechanism used to keep everything under control. Bent Larsen is not done throwing punches though, and he comes up with rook f8, saying, okay, this is a difficult position, but I am a very tenacious chess player and I will defend this to the best of my ability. Will you be able to convert this? Queen e4. And if you ever think about what is center control in chess, what does it mean to control the center in chess? How about that? How about that? Did you put what is that, 18 points of material on the 4 center squares. 9, 1, 5, 3, 18 points. That's a pretty decent amount of center control, I would say. Very tough position to play for black here. Would very much like to be able to get after the king. Rook check maybe, but the king moves and we have no follow-up really. And that's the reason that Bent Larsen sacrifices this pawn, coming to b3. Because h takes b3, and now rook check, king moves, and queen check like this. However, just c3. And of course, black would love to have be able to capture here and come in with checks here and chase the king around, but you cannot come here because the back rank is too weak. This check is going to spell disaster for black, which is why in this position, unfortunately, Bent Larsen had to go back. Queen coming to d6, and here we see the final bit of magic. This is vintage Tal. So there is a checkmating idea. It's very hard to spot, but it's even harder to make it work. So the checkmating idea has something to do with the back rank and getting this check in. But right now the rook can just come back, and the queen would very much be able to throw a check on this square, and you will see in a little bit why. But right now this square is defended by this queen, and you will see how that is important. So this is the position. And if you think about the queen wanting to protect this square, and then you take a look, just a little small look at this move. And this is a sacrifice of the bishop. So the bishop is just not protected, but it's attacking the queen. And the queen now has a problem. Because if she doesn't capture the bishop, where will she go? So she does end up capturing the bishop, and now we see the point of this deflection sacrifice. It's the type of tactic is, well, it's a deflection sacrifice. The point is that you throw the check, the rook interposes, you put the queen now with this check here on e6, and the queen can go here now. It's not, no, there's no queen takes queen, so king will have to go to the h8 square. But rook takes rook is not checkmate. Queen takes rook, and black is winning. So what is the move that makes this work? What do you think it is? You know, this is one of those times where when I saw it, when I was looking through the game in the book, I was just like, yep, that's Tal. That's Tal, you know, sacrifice knights and bishops and stuff. Put the bishop here, just let the queen take it so you can end the game. Like that. With the queen looking like it's being sacrificed. But it isn't. Queen comes to f7, and the rook is pinned, and the queen is simply attacking the rook, so that queen takes rook, queen takes queen, rook takes rook, or any other way you want to do it. Rook takes first still works, and it's going to be checkmate if you try to stop the checkmate like this. I could also just win the rook, but even just do this, so it's still a checkmate threat. It's just completely winning. And you have to be aware of all the subtleties, because queen takes here is check, backed up by the bishop. And is that maybe a problem? No, actually it's not a problem, because you just play queen takes queen, and there's no time for bishop takes queen, because then rook takes here would be checkmate still, meaning that you would have to play rook takes rook, and then queen takes bishop, and with this easily winning end game. So that is the game. I'll just put the final position on the board here. So we had the pawn there, and we had the bishop there, and we had the queen here. And that is the final position of the game. And was that a game and a half? I love Mikhail Tal, and I love Bent Larsen, and I hope that you enjoy them as well, and I hope that you had a great time watching this video. I hope that you are fast asleep or very relaxed wherever you are, and that you will have a very nice and pleasant rest of the day, evening, tomorrow, and indeed a pleasant life. And I hope I will see you in the next video. So thanks for watching. Bye.